Hello there and welcome to this edition of The Veteran. The Veteran is a program where we go in depth to see and discuss, having identified who a veteran is, and we have identified one in the journalism profession. And we do it for virtually every profession. And these are people who have excelled in their chosen careers. I want to talk of a man who at the point was arrested, who at the point was detained, taken to court. And what was his experience? Even when in crutches, he was always and still being tried. So what happened? What was the offense? We want to know from this veteran, a veteran journalist. My name is Ben Shemang, and the program is The Veteran, as I've said, and we are reaching you via Third Eye Africa TV. We are at the Central Business District in Abuja, and I want to welcome veteran citizen Luka Binyat. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ben Shemang. It's a very big honor and a pleasure to be on this very program.
Now, let us get to know who Luka Binyat is. Was he born with a silver spoon or a rural gentleman?
I was born with, in fact, a wooden spoon. If spoons could be made from stones, maybe I was born from that. I was born in a village called Randiam in the present Kaura local government of Kaduna State in 1965. I left the village at the age of 2. My father joined the army. So I've been a barrack boy all this while. I started my primary school in St. Paul's Primary School, Ozala. I think it's in Kanu local government now. I'm not too sure, but it's in Enugu State. Then I attended Army Primary School, Mina. And then I also attended Government College, Bida. I graduated in 1983. I had a stint at College of Advanced Studies, CAS, Zaria, between 1984 and 1986. I left, I did a brief work with NEPA when Shiroro Dam was under construction. So I worked under the instrumentation department. From there, I went to University of Jos, where I read geography and planning, and I graduated in 1992. So my first degree is actually in geography and planning. I didn't set out to be a journalist. Then after that, I worked briefly as a waiter at Sheraton, Abuja, and I left and started pursuing my passion, which is journalism. So I did a postgraduate diploma in mass communication and journalism from the International Institute of Journalism, Abuja. And that was what pushed me into journalism since 1996. And ever since, it's been a very exciting journey in this profession. So in brief, that is who I am. I am married to a lady, very beautiful lady from Benue State. Her name is Gladys. We are blessed with 5 boys and a beautiful daughter. So that is the summary about me.
So I should salute the barrack boy. I greet you.
Thank you.
Now, so how was it like growing in the barracks? I mean, discipline-wise and all that stuff.
Well, if you grew in the barrack, you had the opportunity of, growing up in Nigeria, most cosmopolitan setting. Every tribe, every section of Nigeria is represented in the barracks. So the mix-up was fun. There is never a dull moment in the barracks. But the barracks also shaped my thinking towards discipline, towards hard work, and also towards justice. So I grew up in an environment where you had to be tough to survive, where being gentle was not really such a virtue. where your voice, must stand out if you must make a point. And I also saw how soldiers treated each other. I I I was brought up to respect law and order, and right from the beginning, I knew that I was not going to tally with bullies because I come from a family of essentially boys, and I was bullied seriously, and I also bullied in the barracks. So growing up, I said if I ever become anybody, I was going to take care of people that are beneath me. And so right from a young age, I started protecting my young ones and my friends against bullies. And eventually, it has become more like something that's in my DNA. Whether in my working place, before I became a journalist, I was very vocal among the union members, and I was also somebody that was interested in justice.
That
So
was with NEPA those days.
Sorry.
When you said in your former working place, you joined
Yes.
unionism, that was with NEPA?
No, with Abuja Sheraton Hotel.
Okay.
In fact, after I left the hotel and I became a journalist, they will tell you that I worked very hard, to pressure government to improve their condition of service, which I didn't enjoy. So I am more like a folk hero among them, for those of them who are still there and for those of them that have retired. I work assiduously, taking up their issues, how their working conditions were, about their emulations, and all kinds of issues that affect their welfare. So I help to organize all kinds of media outings for them, and they are always very happy with what my contribution towards their welfare.
Now tell us this: at the point you remain a journalist, was it by accident, like El Rufai would say, he was an accidental public servant, an accidental politician?
No, I wouldn't say it was by accident. I studied science in secondary school. In my A levels, I did maths, physics, and chemistry. But all my heart has been to become a writer. I have always been inspired by good stories. I've also been inspired by good movies, good scripts. And so even I recall when I was in secondary school, in Form 3, in our time we call it Form 3, which should be like Form 3 is Form 3, the third year in the school. I was made the editor of my school magazine. We call it The Dove in Government College, Bida. So I had seniors in Form 4, I had seniors in Form 5, but they thought that I was good. My writing was good, even at that age. So they made me to edit our, college magazine. But I was a science student. That's the irony of it. But I always loved the arts. In fact, I remember when it was time for, let's say, physics, I would rather go to attend literature classes. And that will always bring some friction between the literature teacher and my physics teacher. So in the end, they had to adjust the timetable, the lecture timetable in a manner that I could also attend literature and physics without without bringing any collision with the lecturers. And when I graduated, I was the best student in English language. But I was a science student, so I went to CAS to read maths, physics, and chemistry. I didn't do well there, so I had to come to work, and then I reorganized myself, went back to university to read geography and planning. I always have an adventuresome spirit. So I thought town planning will also take me to places to do things that I like doing. But inside my heart, I've always been somebody who was in love with writing. So it's not by accident.
Okay. Now, while in Bida, how was it like? Were you bullied? And when you became a senior, did you retaliate, or how was life there?
In government college?
Yes.
in government college, the bullying was unbelievable, and I was not the most gentle of the junior students to be controlled anyhow. So they regarded me as rude. They regarded me as stubborn. They regarded me as very recalcitrant. And so I got a lot of share of the bully, me and my groups. In fact, I will be made to do frog jump. If you know what frog jump is, around the football pitch, around the track field, 2 times. Sometimes I would spend the entire night carrying out punishment. There was was it last week? I opened my bag to just take some fresh air. And my last boy, who is 10 years, saw a lot of markings, and he said, "Daddy, what happened to your bag?" I said, "What did you see?" He said, "It looks like some lines, like somebody beat you there." I said, "Yes, these are the scars I still carry from secondary school bullying." But when I became a senior, I decided that we had to protect our juniors, that we wasn't allow them to face what our seniors subjected us to. So we formed a group, and we went round anywhere we saw a junior student being unfairly treated. In fact, if he was being whipped, we would seize the whip from the senior and whip him instead. And so we became very, very popular among the students. And I had a nickname then. They called me Kinduz the Mean Dude. And my friend, who is a son now, I didn't get his permission. I don't want to say his name. He was the social prefect. So anytime the junior student had opportunity to come to our corner, they were like in a freedom kingdom. So we gave them a lot of liberty, and we make sure that what we went through, they never passed through. So I didn't retaliate at all.
Okay. Now, will you want to recall with fun some of your teachers? You know, sometimes students will begin to give some teachers some nicknames. I mean, just out of love. And who were your mentors, especially teachers in secondary school?
Well, I had teachers who fired my imagination. I had a Ghanaian lecturer called Achepo, who will tell us stories about, for example, Kuwait, how rich the Sultan of Brunei was. He will tell us stories about the United States, and he made us to feel that the world was really out big there for us to go and see. And then we also had, interestingly, I was very interested in the arts. We had a history teacher. I wasn't a history student, but I also attended their lectures, who would tell us about, the kingdom of Mali. He would talk to us about Mansa Musa, about great African exploits in history. And then we had also government lecturers who, taught us about Karl Marx, about socialism in secondary school. But I was a science student. I would go sit down, listen to their lectures, read their books, and I was really inspired by, the developments that were going on in the world. It was during the Cold War era. But most essentially, I was very, attracted to books. So I read a lot of novels. Today, I still regard Things Fall Apart as one of the best book ever written, best story ever, told. I was addicted to James Hadley Chase, but I also read classics like Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer. What's the name of this author? Mark Twain. I read a lot of his books. And I also read, I graduated to reading books written by Shakespeare. All this in secondary school. So by the time I left secondary school, my mind was already, very enlightened about the literary world. But of course, I was a science student. And we were, told that if you are not a science student, you are not a very smart person. That was one of the biggest mistakes in my life. So we had very good teachers then who could take you through this life exploit and prepare your mind for what you want to be in the future. There are quite a lot of them.
That was the days of guardian and counseling.
Well, we didn't have guardian and counseling at that time. In fact, I'm sure if we had guardian and counseling, I would have made to drop the science subject and pick either art or art, because we didn't have social science. We are either an art student, a science student, or they call a technical vocational student, or a business student. I would have been. I think I should have been an art student but we
Now,
didn't have parents who were educated to guide me.
okay, now let's look at your life. Maybe I call them dual kind of life, not dual citizenship, but dual kind of, as a human rights activist and a journalist. But first of all, let's look
Yes.
at your life as a journalist. How did you go into
Yes.
journalism?
Yes, as I was telling you, when I was working in Abuja Sheraton Hotel, I saw an advert saying that if you had a first degree in any course, you could become a professional journalist if you enrolled into the IIJ, International Institute of Journalism, and that you will be given a postgraduate diploma, and that would automatically qualify you to be a journalist. It was unbelievable to me. This was a profession I thought I had missed for life. But as soon as I went to the address and I confirmed that it was true, I didn't spend 1 week. I didn't save 5 naira. I came and just wrote my resignation letter. I said I was no longer interested. I wanted to, I told them that I was going to school, and they were like, "How could you just? Why don't you spend some time, save money?" I said, no. I don't want this opportunity to miss me. So I put on my resignation immediately that week. I went and I registered, and then I started classes. And so that was how I became a journalist. And to give you more hindsight, it was my first assignment that gave me a job. One Fred Busha was teaching us news writing. And so when he gave us the assignment and he started sharing the script, my script was the last. I got 5 over 10, and that was the best. And curiously, there were among us active reporters, journalists who were already on the field. So he was working. I told him I had never worked. He asked me if I lost a job. I said, no, I've never been a journalist before. There and there, he gave me a note, and that was what opened my door, and I started, journalism. So I was stringing, even as I was still attending the IIJ. That was my incursion into journalism.
So, which was your first area of employment?
Well, I started with a rather obscure magazine called The Woman Today, published by Ene Ede. She's retired now. She's in Abuja. She made me what she called special correspondent. So I was writing virtually and everything. But being a woman, she was more concerned with women issues. So it was while I was, writing for her, that somebody read my article. He was working with the Post Express. And then he approached me and he said, I've been reading your stuff. Why don't you come and try the Post Express? They will take somebody like you. You write like you are interested in the arts. I said yes. So that was how I was introduced to Tom Chairman, who was the bureau chief of the Post Express. And Tom said he wasn't interested. This is a very interesting angle. Tom said he wasn't interested in a reporter, that he was interested in the photographer. And he asked me if I could snap. I said, of course I could snap, but I didn't know anything about photography. But I wanted to be in the journalism, in a higher journalism cycle. So I went and met my friend who had a camera. And then I told him the development. He said, well, you can have it for the meantime. So I came to the office the next day, and then he linked me up with a reporter. I can't recall who he was. There was a demonstration. It was in the days of a year. Youth earnestly.
Alpha,
asked for Abacha. Yes, I was to cover one of their rallies. So when I took the photographs to him, he came short of slapping me. He said, "What kind of rubbish is this? How are we going to publish this? You just brought wide angle nonsense and all that." He threw the pictures at me. "And you claim that you can snap." I said, "Well, I made a mistake, sir. Please, I'm sorry. Next time I would." He said, "No, no, no, no. Okay, I'm going to give you the last chance, last opportunity." I said, "Yes, sir." So that night I couldn't sleep well. The next morning I went to the NUJ. We had NUJ at Zone 5 then. And then I met a Yoruba guy. I can't recall his name now. And I told him what happened to me in the office. And I showed him some of the pictures. The guy laughed and he said, "No, no, 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 no. There is no way they'll publish it. Okay, when we are going for an assignment now, just follow me." And that was how I followed him, and he showed me how to take photographs. So I was doing photography until one fateful night. A musician was to come to Area 10, Parent Ground, to perform. His name is Majek Fashek. And then our arts reporter at that time was one Jim Pressman. I'm sure you know him, sir. He was quite a veteran around that time. So I was made to be his photographer to cover Majek Fashek, his performance that night. But at that time, Majek Fashek's career was dwindling. He had gone into drugs. He was looking very unkempt and all that. So I went to the event. We went to the event around 10 o'clock. Jim Pressman told me that he wanted to catch a nap, that when Majek started performing, I should come and wake him. Majek came on stage around 2 o'clock in the morning. I went to wake Jim Pressman. Jim Pressman was very angry at me. He said, "Get out, you are mad. If you touch me, I will slap you." I said, "Okay, no problem." So I took a few snapshots and I took notes. After the event, everybody dispersed, and I went to meet my reporter. I said, "Sir, the show is over." He woke up and was looking terrified. He said, "Are you mad? Majek performer, you didn't call me. Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to report? Lagos is expecting this story." I said, "Sorry, sir, but I took some note." He said, "You are mad. What am I going to do with your note? Who was there? Who was there?" I said, "I don't know many of the reporters," but he said, "Oh God." I said, "Sir, but don't worry. I will tell you what happened." I took very good notes of it. He was not happy. So we went back to the office. Our office was in Area 7. We passed the morning there. Around 9 o'clock, I woke up, brushed, and then I wrote the story. When I wrote the story, Jim Pressman came to the office around 11. He had been going around the places looking for who was writing the story. And I gave him the story. He read it and he said, "You mean you wrote this?" I said, "Yes, sir." "You wrote this?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Why? You're a damn good writer." "Wow. No, I'm not going to put my name to this story. This is your story." He said, "No. Go home, come back in the afternoon. Tom Charman will come and I'll show him this." And that was what happened. When I came back around 4, he was in the office with Tom Charman. My script was on the table of Tom Charman. And Tom Charman looked at me. He said, "Look," I said, "Sir, you mean you wrote this story?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Then why are you fooling yourself with that camera? You are a writer. You are not a cameraman." I said, "Sir, but you didn't give me the opportunity." So that was how he said, "From now, drop that nonsense. You are going to be deputy to Jim Pressman. You are now our second art reporter." And in fact, after about a month or two, I was given a permanent employment with the Post Express. So I started by covering art and culture. That was my real, incursion into journalism. I think that was 1997.
Yeah, but it looks like you are more popular with the Vanguard.
Yes, the Vanguard. Okay, of course, you know that the Post Express died. It was mismanaged, and by 2003, it has ceased to exist. And so somebody in Vanguard, Ojefu, Sweepan Ojefu, approached me. He was the Guru chief. He said, "Look, the Post Express is no longer existing. Why don't you come to the Vanguard? I said, fine. I'm looking for an opportunity to see my stories published again. He said, but you are going to string for some time, so nobody gets direct employment in Vanguard. I said, no problem. So that was how I went to the Vanguard. And then in the Vanguard, I was made to cover energy. So I started as an energy correspondent with the Vanguard. But you see, they gave you also a lot of bits. Outside energy, I was also covering communication, and then I was also covering aviation. But I was well grounded in energy. In fact, we started what they call the street crude. It was a pull-out every Thursday, dedicated to the oil and gas industry. So I made my mark there as an energy reporter. And one of the things that also made me popular was my encounter with, the late Levi Ojoanomo. He said I had ways of asking very annoying questions and embarrassing, whichever big man was addressing us. Because I didn't ask light questions. I asked very penetrating questions, very probing questions. So if you were not prepared for my question, I could get you off balance and embarrass yourself. So British Minister of Energy was going to sign a deal with the NNPC, and of course I went to cover. I didn't know that Levy didn't want me to cover that event. So as I approached to enter the the hall, it was on the 5th floor of the NNPC tower. He was there with some policemen. And as soon as he saw me, he said, that is the guy. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. And I said, why? They told me, Oga, respect yourself. Just go back. I said, no, I'm here to cover this press conference. He said, no. Libby said, take him away. Take him away. I said, Libby, what's the problem? He said, you are not attending this press conference. You are not. I said, I must attend. So there was a struggle. So the policeman beat me up, bundled me, put me into the lift, and forced me down. And then escorted me out of the gate. That was an opening for me. Of course, I called my editor and I told him what happened. And before you knew it, the media was on fire. So, the NNP had a lot of enemies that time. There were even... I sued him and NNPC for 1 billion. And then I got the full backing of my editors. At that time, our publisher, Uncle Sam, was in UK having treatment. Livy Ojoanomo had to fly to go and meet Uncle Sam to tell him to beg me. Uncle Sam had to return to Nigeria. He told me, Livy is very worried, and that it will not be good for me to bring down his career, that I should withdraw the case. Oh, if your publisher tells you to publish it, to leave, do you have any powers to say no? So that was how I withdrew the case against him. But he held a press conference and apologized to me. And that was how we became friends. So I was removed from that bit, and I was given the House of Reps to cover. So that was how I left covering energy, and started covering House of Reps in. So that's the brief of it.
So I hope you didn't carry trouble to the House of Reps. Was it the days of Salisu Buhari?
I did. No, it was during the days of this young man. What's his name?
Bankole Balogun.
This Bankole, Alani Bankole. I also got into trouble with him a lot. In fact, there was this order then by the president
That's the Meji Bankole.
The Meji Bankole, exactly. They said foreign travels should be cut, overhead costs should be cut and all that. But the House of Reps built their budget in a way that they still padded it to give themselves some allowances. And I discovered that in the budget, they budgeted 700 million naira. 700 naira for newspapers. A million naira was big money in those days. So when he was speaking to us on the budget of the reps, and I brought out my computer and I pointed it out to him. I said, well, you're supposed to save cost, but what is 700 million naira doing buying newspapers here? The man fled up. Oh. He said, I was sent to come and embarrass him. And I said, am I the one that put the figures here? Are you not the one? He said, was I the only one that have? I said, excuse me, sir, if you are not going to answer my question, please don't shout at me. He said, who are you? And I said, who are you too? So it was a shouting match between me and him. And that was the end of the press conference. Curiously, 2 weeks later, one of his press officers called me. And I was shocked. I said, Mr. Speaker, we want to travel to Switzerland. I said, over my dead body. I don't know the plans he has for me. I'm not going anywhere. I said, no. So I spoke to my colleagues. They said, it's an opportunity now. I said, I won't. I will not travel with him. Anyway, we ended up agreeing that whatever happened to me, they know who to hold responsible.
So now, not just Dimeji Bankole, not just Livia Jonoma. I mean, you also had issues with the former governor of Kaduna State, Ahmed Rufai. How did it go there?
My issues with Rufai, many people don't know, did not. When I was covering, when I was working for FCT was one of my beats. Abba Gana was the minister until Rufai came. So Abba Gana handed the ministry to Rufai. At that time, Rufai had become a very notorious person. You know. Yeah.
Here we are.
Yes.
Okay. I'll just introduce that we'll just go on a short break. But okay. It's not as if we'll go on break, but we'll know what to do there.
I understand.
Okay. So, count down from 3. 3, 2, 1. Well, viewers, we just have to go on a very short break. And when we come back, we want to look at what happened with Mr. Luka Binyat when at the point he had some issues with El-Rufai, or was it El-Rufai who had issues with him, or the two of them didn't understand themselves? We want to get all of this. Once again, my name is Ben Preshaman, and the program is The Veteran. We're reaching you via Third Eye Africa TV in Abuja. So let's go on a short break. Now, welcome back from the break. And yes, Mr. Luka Binyat, at the point you had some issues with Ahmed El-Rufai, former governor of Kaduna State. Can you lead your viewers, lead us to what happened?
Well, Malam Nasir El-Rufai became the governor of Kaduna State in 2015. And like I was trying to say, I had covered him briefly when he was Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. So I knew the kind of administration that he was coming, you know, to bear on the state. So I started covering him like any other journalist. And his first outings were very controversial. His utterances were very controversial. And I was not somebody that will wait for you to be politically correct before I report, you know, what you say. So I will put it the way it is. And he wasn't happy with me. He also had, at that time, a commissioner information Samuel Aruan, who was a young journalist, that was even more combative than the governor himself. And so when they discovered that I was not going in tune with them, they blacklisted me not to cover their activities. But I had a reporter, a female reporter, May 18, who was, I think, more junior to their heart. So they allowed her to cover. But each time she came back from the assignment, I would collect the tape, I would listen to the tape, and I would take the story from the angle that I think will sell the story. That was how I wrote the story when he said that anybody that was not happy with his appointment should climb Ufena Hill and jump. I wrote that story and I added that climb Ufena Mountain, jump and die. As early as 6 o'clock in the morning, Samuel Aruan gave me a call, and he said that I had set Kaduna State on fire with my caption. That his governor said, climb Mount Kufena and jump, but I added and die. And so he had already reported me to my editors and all that. And truly, they wrote my editors to say that I was writing to incite the public and all that. So my editor asked me whether I could describe Mount Kufena, and I asked him if he knew anything about Mount Kilimanjaro. He said, tallest mountain in Africa. I said, well, Kufena Hill is the tallest mountain in Kaduna State. So he said, well, if somebody is to jump from that kind of hill, he surely die. He said, well, we wrote the right thing, so why should they be boiling over it? And I wasn't in that assignment, like I told you. And then another one again, he called my colleagues. Of course, I was excluded, where he was telling them what he was doing about security. And that was when he revealed that he followed some of these killer herdsmen to various countries of West Africa, and he paid them money and pleaded with them not to return to kill more people in southern Kaduna. Nobody wanted to write the report. I said, well, to me that is my own story, and it turned out to be, one of the stories that was his biggest undoing. I was also very descriptive about his demolition exercise that lacked any form of humanity. I also extensively wrote on the massacre of the Shia, and bringing out the irony that he befriended them, and for the first time, the Shia came out to vote because El-Rufai had convinced them that their government was going to bring justice, just the way that the Shia had been advocating for good governance. So he convinced them to vote. Shortly after they came to power, he, carried out that kind of course, he supervised, because it happened in his own territory, and he was not, mincing words about his hatred for them. The Shia claimed that about over.
Yes, I was in crutches because at that time I had an accident, which had serious effect on my left knee. Could hardly walk. In fact, I was on wheelchair. It was at the time I was getting better that I even was on crutches. So Justice Sokola did not bother about my condition. He treated me as if I was somebody that robbed a bank or that was a very dangerous criminal. But I knew he was doing that to, please his boss, who was the governor then. Well, in my leisure time, when I was much younger, I played basketball. I love reading a lot. I love reading good stories. I hang out with my friends to have a beer or two. And then I love, angling, the one we call hooking in the local parlance. Yeah, in fact, I think if I hadn't gone to school, I would have ended up being a fisherman. So it is a hobby that sits top on my list. What is better for me as a journalist or a human rights activist? I think if I was not a journalist, my activism would not have been so, shall I say, effective. So I think I just have to be both. In fact, I started my journalism, I told you, as an art and culture reporter, but I eventually uh, started covering the FCT, in which I saw the conditions of the Bagis in the rural communities as very, very horrible compared to the lands that they had sacrificed for Abuja to be built. So I did a lot of advocacy work for them in my reportage. I think it's something that is in my nature. You cannot remove me from writing reports or from writing. And there is no way too that I can turn my face to injustice. So it's I can't see myself being divorced from any of the two. They just have to go pari passu until I leave this earth. You see, when I came to Kaduna State, I became more like an interested party because this is the state that I come from. And the area I also come from happened to be under the siege of armed Fulani herdsmen since the post-presidential violence of 2011. So I had it as a moral duty to go the extra mile to cover some of the story and bring them out as truthful, as factual as possible. But that also had put me in a lot of danger and also brought me face to face with the cruelty and barbarity of the perpetrators of what has now come to be termed as Christian genocide in southern Kaduna, which of course, you know, is in the middle belt of Nigeria. I happened to also, you know, arrive at communities where smokes are smoldering, corpses are lying down, you know, dismembered humans, children cut into two, women, breastfeeding women, burnt with their cuddling their children. I have seen horrible things at in a village in Zango Katav. I was part of the, you know, evacuation of Chad corps after the invaders, you know, carried out horrific killings the previous night. I have seen so many things that if I remember today, it leaves me trembling. So I had to go that extra mile so that these stories will not be buried. In the course of it, I had escaped death once. The commercial motorcycle guy that was carrying me around some of the villages told me that he wanted to go and pick something at home before returning to take me. So, and then the route that we were supposed to take, I didn't know that some people were laying ambush, waiting for me to pass through there because I've gone through there twice before, and I was going to meet a certain guy who was going to confirm something to me on record. The guy took that route. As soon as he was coming, he was ambushed and he was butchered. And that was how the guy sacrificed his life for me. So I had gone through a lot of terrible things in Chukwu, not too long. I think it was last year. I had to carry some villagers to their communities that they ran away from for 10 years. It was a very dangerous adventure, but I wanted to find out if the so-called peace agreement that the governor had with the bandits was actually working. And so we traversed these communities in Chukwu, that's the Bagi areas. And then we met a Fulani young man who was taking ambush, who was trying to ambush us with an AK-47, but he was alone. The Bagi guys overpowered him because he saw the numbers. He couldn't do anything because the fellows I came with were also carrying den guns and locally made guns. So he said that he saw us, he was afraid. That was why he was hiding. I beckoned on them to leave him alone, but his gun was seized. and then we surrendered it to the police. So it's quite. I've had a lot of very interesting encounters because of this my job. Yes, sometimes in February 2017, the DSS invited me to his office. The director quizzed me over the story and eventually transferred me to the Kaduna State Police Commissioner, who also quizzed me. And then I was arraigned before a Chief Magistrate Court on the 7th of February 2017. I couldn't meet the bail terms, so I had to spend the night in Kaduna prison. The following day, I was brought out to the court where I was able to meet the bail conditions. Soon I was set free. I was again arrested and slammed with a new court summon at the Kaduna Court of Justice, Court 10, under Justice Bashir Sukola of blessed memory now. He gave me bail conditions that were virtually not tenable. He said that for anyone that will be a surety to me, that will be my guarantor, he has to deposit his international passport with the court and must have a bank bond of 10 million naira. And such people must be at least 2 in number. So I had willing people that were ready with the bank bonds, but who was ready to place his international passport in the custody of the court. I mean, most of these guys are people who traveled a lot. So that sparked a lot of outrage in public space. And I spent 94 days in prison, after which I was brought back, and then the judge had to review the bail condition, and granted me something that was a bit lenient. So that was how I got out of court. The Nigerian Union of Journalists showed me tremendous support. In fact, it was at that period that the Nigerian Union of Journalists declared Kaduna State as the most dangerous state to practice journalism in Nigeria, based on the persecution that some of us were facing. The president of NUJ at that time, Chris Isezugo, then the national secretary of the NUJ, Shoaib Liman, and Kaduna State chairman of the NUJ, Comrade Yusuf Adamu, we are very cooperative. In fact, it was based on the pressure that they exerted on the state that the judge had to review my bail condition. To cap it all, it was even the chairman of Kaduna State NUJ that even dropped his international passport as the only conditions for my bail after it was reviewed to that situation. So they were very, very cooperative. My colleagues in the media, home and abroad, showed me so much camaraderie that I became more of a local hero. So I am ever, ever grateful to them.
And it is here that we have to end this edition of the program, The Veteran. We've looked at the life and times of Mr. Luka Binyat, a journalist, a human rights activist, a family man who has always vowed to struggle to defend human dignity, human rights. Mr. Luka Binyat, I want to thank you very much, and my name is Ben Adam Shaman. Keep watching as we continue to fetch and bring more of these veterans. Thank you, and keep listening again.